Philadelphia is backing off the green phase time frame, and John Legend lambasts the Houston Association of Realtors. We're going to talk about it all next on Toole Time. I'm Tom Toole. She is Jess Lion, and we've got some juicy topics today that we're going to talk about. It's been all over the news, both of these things. We're going to start local as we always do, that the city of Philadelphia, despite the rest of southeastern Pennsylvania going green, getting into the green phase, Philadelphia is pushing it back until maybe August. Jess, what do you think about all this?
If they are going to make a decision, the governor or whoever, I would like them to stick with it. I feel like it's back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And I was looking at phila.gov, and it tells you like cases per day, actually. And there have been far more negative cases than positive cases. And positive cases have been consistently going down. And that's just for the city of Philadelphia. So I couldn't imagine being an owner of a gym or an owner of a restaurant and you being told one thing and ready to open and start your livelihood again. And then, nope, we're pushing it back until August. How do you take care of your family? Like, if I were in their situations, I don't know what I would do. They're opening up casinos, they're opening up museums and libraries, and you're eating outdoor anyway. And you should see these outdoor seating arrangements. You're not 6 feet apart.
Yeah, they're not. Yeah, they aren't six. I mean, I've seen some that are. I've seen a lot that aren't. So I hear you.
But so it's like, what are we doing here? It's just this ping pong, and it's really, it sucks.
So this is not a governor decision, to be clear. This is coming right from the mayor. So Mayor Kenny is the one pushing this back because they've left it up to the municipality. Said you can go green, but it's up to you if you want to do that. So. That just to be a little clear there.
Okay.
You know, the thing that's crazy to me is you can go gamble at a casino and you can't go to a gym, and the restrictions that they're coming up with, it's partly because, to your point, these tables aren't 6 feet away. They're not necessarily following the guidelines the way they should. A lot of the cases that are coming up, I mean, there's a lot of things that have happened in the city. If people don't think the spike in cases has to do with all the protests that were happening, they need to get a reality check. I mean, that's obviously the antithesis of social distancing. And I'm not against the protests. I'm looking at, okay, this is probably the reason why all this happened. And when they came out and said, hey, it might be because of trips to the Jersey Shore or that people aren't practicing their distance guidelines, is that a component? Probably. You know, the contact tracing, there's so few people where that's happening. It's not a reliable source of data. What I know from observing what was going on in the city is that, that had a lot to do with it. And then on top of it, there's another issue with this homeless encampment, which, again, if these people want to protest, I'm all for it. There's a lot of infections there because the people, and those people are susceptible to a lot of diseases because they're not getting regular health care. A lot of them have diabetes and other things that would make them more vulnerable to the virus. So there's some things here that aren't getting talked about. When I hear the Jersey Shore trips are the cause of this, and not the other things that have happened. And usually it's like a 2-week delay for it to get reported in the first place. It's the news kind of manufacturing a story where I don't know that's all totally the case. What I can also say is I had an appointment in Philadelphia last night, driving down the street. I mean, a lot of people aren't wearing masks when they go out. And I'm not saying that that's right or wrong, but if they're wondering what's going on and you want the cases to drop, I mean, that's a component here too. And what I see the issue is that, being able to go to a casino and not go to a gym, I guarantee you the gym is cleaner than the casino.
100%.
At least most gyms. It just doesn't make a lot of sense to me in that regard. And, there's these other things that have happened. I mean, all those people gathering, what was it, 2-3 weeks ago with all the protests? I mean, there had to be some sort of transmission of the disease. Like
I agree.
It's no way that it's the result of people going to the Jersey Shore. That's probably a component. It's not the whole story. And, because of that, I mean, again, these guidelines are just so wonky. I just don't understand the casino versus the gym. Indoor dining, I mean, if people are dining outside, that's fine. If that's a safer way to go about it, you probably know more about that than I do. I haven't been to a restaurant yet, so feel free to chime in there. It's just, I don't see that we're getting the full story on this.
I agree. And you're 100% right. Like with the protests and things like that, I'm sure that caused an influx of cases. But there's also 55, over 55 testing sites in the city, which wasn't the case a few months ago. So of course they're testing more people, and that has to do with it as well. Um, but like you're saying, restaurants and casinos, if casinos can adapt and barbershops can adapt and follow these guidelines, a restaurant and a gym can too. In the article that you sent me, the owner of the gym was like, we can have 3 or 4 people in the gym, socially distancing, doing things outside. A restaurant can operate at 25% indoor capacity and stagger tables more than 6 feet apart, which is more than what they're doing outside. So like, it just doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, and they had this travel advisory too, and I get the travel advisory. I mean, I guess just the biggest concern here is that it's again, it's another, the guidelines aren't uniform. There's no, hey, this is what you need to do, and until that comes out, I mean, we're going to have these, and this is, ultimately the only solution here. If people are really concerned about this virus, is a vaccine getting developed. I mean, that's going to be the only thing that really ends it. Until then, we're probably going to be dealing with this stuff for a while because no one's ever said, and we talked about this a couple weeks ago. I don't know if it was last week or the week before, so go back and watch. But no one knows what happens after we go green. There's not that, okay, here's what can happen, here's how it goes, and it just continues to be more uncertainty for the Philadelphia metro region. And it's there's a lot of businesses that aren't going to open their doors again, which is really sad. I mean, you look at some of these restaurants, they've been closed for what, 3 months now? I mean, maybe they don't have the ability for outdoor space. Some do, some don't, obviously, in the city. Maybe they got looted and destroyed. Like, I mean, these places are in a lot of trouble, and it's
Yeah.
really hurting local business owners. And gyms are another, like, you don't see big gyms coming into the city. These are usually like local
Hmm.
family-owned gyms or like two partners. It's not like a corporate thing. It's not like Gold's Gym or Bally's or anything like that. So I don't even know if Bally's is open anymore, but that's not the point. And so it's going to hurt a lot of people at the end of the day, which is unfortunate, especially when it was supposed to happen in like 2 or 3 days, and this just came out.
Agreed. I would like more certainty and more guidelines as to how we can open and how we can adapt instead of just going back and forth. And I don't want this whole thing to resurge again, like Texas reclosing and doing. I don't want that to happen up here. I don't. Nobody does. But if there's a way that we can, these are the guidelines. These are how you can operate your business. Abide by them. That's the way I think we should go.
I mean that's the kind of leadership that every state, every county, every city, every municipality needs right now.
Yeah.
Is here's what we're going to do. Here's the rules for everybody, and that's it. Because if you
Yeah.
go state to state, I mean, salons open some places, they didn't open in others. I mean, that's another business that really got hurt by this. And I would feel much more comfortable going to a salon or going to a gym that they got sanitizer everywhere, all sorts of things, rather than going to a casino or I kind of get the restaurant thing to a certain extent because I mean, but again, there's ways to do that where they have to go in and maybe there needs to be like some sort of like inspection. Like you want to reopen, we need to see how you're going to have your table set up. Like that's what the municipalities and the local governments need to be doing. They need to have some sort of control on this and just saying open, close, because that's all we're getting right now.
Hopefully,
All
we're
right.
not talking about it next week. Maybe we will.
Well, I mean, it's not going to change next week, so who the
Yeah.
hell knows?
Okay.
So this next topic here, this to me is, it actually piggybacks a little bit off this. We were talking about some of the protests and some of the things that have gone on throughout the country. So John Legend, Penn graduate, by the way, John Legend went to University of Pennsylvania. So the Houston Association of Realtors, they decided to ditch the term master in their MLS descriptions. And John Legend tweeted out, and let me read you the tweet. Real problem, colon, realtors don't show black people all the properties they qualify for, period. Fake problem, colon, calling the master bedroom. Fix the real problem, realtors. So love this tweet. I've got a very clear opinion on this. What do you
Mhm.
think about all this, Jess?
So if you want to stop using the term master bedroom, not you, but whoever wants to stop industry wide, stop using the term master bedroom and use primary bedroom, biggest bedroom, whatever, let's do it. But John Legend is 100% right here. The problem is racial discrimination in the industry. And if anyone says that that is not a thing, I would have to call them out and say either you don't know about it or you're a liar, because it's 100% true. And I can speak from experience because I've worked with Black people and people of color, and the stories that they tell me before we start working together of, hey, you don't know how many realtors I've had to go through that will actually show me a home, or get back in touch with me, or all these stories, how they got screwed over in the past. Like, it's very present. And I don't care what color your skin is, as long as you're pre-approved, we're going out and we're going to find you a home. Or if you're not pre-approved, I'm going to take the time and show you how you can get pre-approved. Some people will not even take that time, and that's another issue. They don't want to take the time to educate them or tell them what the next step is, just like you would with any client. So I think it's very present. And speaking from my past experiences, it's there and it needs to be gone.
For sure. And so to me, there's two things about the story. One, the Houston Association of Realtors, all they're doing is pandering to the public to make themselves feel better.
Yeah.
This is silly to me. And if you look at how the term master bedroom came up, if you research it, it actually has to do with if you look at the word Mister, that's an abbreviation for master, which typically means the head of household, which was usually like a man or a woman. So it was like the dad and mom. That's where it came from, is that it's for the head of the household, not the master, because I mean like compare what the connotations are here.
Mhm.
So that's number one. Number two, there's a story that came out, and this was an amazing article. It came out from Newsday, and Newsday did this very detailed investigation. It was a 3-year investigation in Long Island that revealed widespread bias against consumers of color. So there was 100 agents at 12 of Long Island's longest brokerages, or largest, excuse me, and there were 86 trained fair housing pair testers. And the result that came out was 49% of the time, there was Black buyers were discriminated against. Hispanic and Asians were discriminated against 39% and 19% of the time, respectively. So that shows you there was clear evidence in this particular community. And I'm not saying, obviously, it's not everybody, that there was discrimination happening. So, and then it actually, going through that, and I remember when that came out. I mean, that was back at the end of January, and going through all that and reading that article and reading the investigation, then I thought about what happened during the pandemic and what the real estate commission testers were doing. If I don't know if you remember this, we talked about it a couple times, where they were calling realtors to see if they would show them properties when we weren't supposed to be showing homes in Pennsylvania.
Mhm.
So is that really the best use of time for real estate commission testers? Or should they be doing what they are supposed to be doing, which is supporting fair housing?
Mhm.
And I've never run into a tester before. I've sold thousands of homes. I've dealt with lots of agents. I never ran into that before. And then it came out during the pandemic. But where are these people when they really need to be supporting fair housing? Where is the real estate commission in this? Where are the local and state associations? I mean, what Houston Association of Realtors is doing, I think, our buddy Byron said Houston's got a problem. And that's the problem, is all they're doing is trying to make themselves feel better. That's a typical move of, hey, we're going to do this, and it's going to make a difference, instead of dealing with the real problem, which is what John Legend's talking about here. And when I heard that, and I reflected on what he was saying, and then I remembered the Long Island investigation, and then what happened during the pandemic, it just shows you how warped and the perception is of what the problems are within our industry. You're worried about a state. It's the only state that real estate is not essential, and you're going to test those agents for trying to help people that need to get into homes. And then when this stuff happens, you don't see any testers. So
Where
to
you're
me, every local and state association, all these testers, however they're set up, they need to be focusing on this all the time. They need to be enforcing fair housing like they did the temporary restrictions that violated Homeland Security's mandate during the height of the pandemic. They focus on that rather than focusing on the real issue. And Jess, I've had many clients tell me the same thing that they told you. They've
Yep.
had trouble getting realtors to return phone calls. They wouldn't ask them the right questions, all those sort of things. So having that third party testimonial, and unfortunately that's what it is, or case study, or whatever you want to call it, seeing the Long Island story and then seeing where the priorities are from these testers locally in our own state, that tells me the root of the problem is the people running the associations and running the real estate commission. Because if you're going to allow these people to practice, to do this stuff, you know, the toleration is the same as validation.
Mhm.
And if you're going to tolerate it and you're not going to enforce it, it's going to create a problem. So to me, Houston Association of Realtors, dumb move. Great, you got some headlines. It's backfiring on you now. So I mean, I don't know what the intention was there. Secondly, it's not founded based on the definition of the word. And third, you look at the priorities here, it just doesn't make sense. I mean, if someone really wants to push this, people got to get involved with their boards. They got to get involved with the local real estate governance in your state and make sure these testers are testing what they're supposed to be testing in the first place, not these temporary 60-day guidelines from the state of Pennsylvania.
I like that. I'm gonna do it.
Multi-layered there, second, third level thinking, right? So
Mhm.
that's where the change needs to happen. There's no question about it.
All right. What do you
You
got?
didn't come up with a quote. I got a good one. So this is from I didn't know this was this guy's name, and I love this. It's from James Cash Penny, or J.C. Penny. I didn't know his middle name was Cash. That to me is pretty cool. So if you don't know what J.C. Penny is, just Google it. He founded the company. Growth is never by mere chance. It is the result of forces working together. What do you think about this, Jess?
It is a result of forces working together. Growing, when I think of when I need to grow, it's not just going to happen. I have to make a conscious decision to do so. It's just not going to happen if you're doing the same things over and over again. So, switching up your routine, switching up your daily actions. And then the part about joining forces is maybe bringing the people into your life that is going to enable you to change or hold you accountable or open up doors for you or just associate with different people, because what you're doing right now isn't getting to where you want to be. So yeah, that's what I would have to say.
Well, we've talked about that a number of times on the show here. That the people you spend your time with, you start to act and behave like them. So you got to really be mindful of your peer group. When I read this, I thought of something a little different. So
Sure.
look at the story we just talked about. Growth is never by mere chance. It's the result of forces working together. So if we're talking about all these things happening in the world right now, and we really want to grow as an industry, it's not just the Houston Association of Realtors making some dumb comment about master bedrooms. It's not John Legend sending a tweet. It's people getting inspired by that
Mhm.
and actually doing something on the ground level to make sure stuff like that doesn't happen. It's when you're looking to grow your business, not just changing your behaviors, changing your peer group, also changing the environment that you're working in. I mean, look at your daily schedule. It's all these. It's not just one thing. It's usually a combination of things. And but if you look at real change or real growth, you look at a bigger growth than just someone's business. But when we're trying to talk about what's going on in the industry, I mean,
Mhm.
it's got to be a lot of people coming together, or a lot of forces coming together, and that's where things can really change. Can one person make a difference? They absolutely can, and they can make a difference in their life. And that's where it's maybe internal forces, like you're getting your health straight, you're reading more, you're changing what you eat, you're changing your daily schedule. That's gonna have a change, and you're gonna grow from that. But with bigger change, sometimes you need to align yourself with the right people, have a specific message, have a way to get it out there, and all these forces coming together and maybe complement each other with someone who's good at one thing, maybe you got someone who's good at another, and you work together. I mean, those are joining forces, right? And that's where a lot of growth can happen. So,
Yeah.
bringing someone in from the outside that you haven't worked with before. I mean, that's another example of that. When you look at these like comic books, right? Or like comic book movies. They're going to join forces, and then it's like two superheroes working together.
You're
No
so
different than
correct.
that. But it's the same kind of thing. And to do that, you have to look at all the possibilities that are out there, see what forces are going to have the effect that you want, and then come up with a plan to bring them together, and then you can have real growth. And I mean, J.C. Penney's an institution. I mean,
Mhm.
do you remember that like catalog coming? And like, I mean, he knows what's going on. I mean, we would get it like every year, and it was the first like mail order business like that. I mean, there wasn't a lot of them, so you look at how he revolutionized the retail in a lot of ways. I mean, that he knows about growth. There's no question.
Yeah, you talk about this like joining forces to grow, and I see so much of that going on social media now. Somebody will post like, "Do this for change," or just whatever they're posting on social media, and I think it's a way to join with people and to grow and cause change. I think it's really awesome, and it's happening all over the place right now.
Well, you're seeing that because I mean, you can only get to a certain level, and like what got you here is not going to get you there, right? I mean, so there's got to
Yeah,
be changes and different things that happen all the time, and real growth and real scalability comes from a combination of forces, and you got to figure out what they are. It could be a lot of different things. Could be
it's like a
people. It
superhero.
could be behavioral changes. Probably it's both,
Yeah,
and then some.
good stuff.
Catch you guys next week. Thanks for watching.